Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. I just got done picking a bunch of tomatoes. These are Amish paste and San Marzano Roma tomatoes. We're going to make pizza sauce here in a bit. Stick with us. So one early observance I'd like to make is that these tomatoes turned out to be pretty amazing overall. This was a very dry year in southeast South Dakota, and one advantage to a dry year in growing tomatoes is we get to basically control the water source, and we make it come up from the bottom rather than the top down, and that prevents a lot of blight and things on the plant and on the fruit itself. And a lot of times in a lot of years you'll see these Roma tomatoes rot out from the bottom, and there's very little of that in this crop here. What we're looking at here is approximately a 5-gallon pail. We're looking at probably getting about a case worth of pints of pizza sauce out of this. We're going to reduce it down quite a bit in water before we even put it in the pot to boil it. So now we're in the process of washing and cutting off the stems. We have them, and then put them in the blender.
Yeah.
And then reducing them with the strainer a little bit. We're taking out the tomato juice out of the bottom of the strainer. And what's left over we will put in the pot and start boiling for pizza sauce. So I'm running the spoon here to try and make the juice fall out the bottom of the strainer, and we may recover that juice to make into tomato juice later. I'm not sure if time will allow for that, but we have done that in the past, and it's delicious with a lager beer or something mixed in for tomato beer. So I chopped some red onion, probably 2 large onions or so, and added to the pizza sauce, and we added some minced garlic here, some dried minced garlic because I don't have any fresh garlic on hand. And then I added a cup of white distilled vinegar here. So to the tomatoes and onions I've added minced garlic, cornstarch, ground black pepper, lemon juice, basil, oregano, crushed red pepper, salt, and white vinegar. 2 cups of white vinegar. All pretty much to taste. And we're getting the mixture up to a boiling point here, and then once that happens we are going to put these all in jars. Looks like it's pretty close. I'm preparing 20 lids now in boiling water. I'm going to boil them for a couple of minutes, and the purpose of that is to soften the seals up so they mate with the rims of the jars appropriately and form a good seal. Now I'm going to ladle in the pizza sauce into these jars to a point just below the top of the shoulder of the jar, leaving about, I suppose that's ½ inch of headspace or so. And you want basically what I figure is just below the bottom of the funnel. Usually works out real well. Bring you back in a few when we get these all filled up. So what happened here is I came out a little short. I've only got basically 12.5 quarts of pizza sauce here. So in order to save a little time here and energy, I'm going to just do the 10 pizza sauces here in the canner, and then I'm going to do the, let's see, we've got 2 full pints here, and then I've got a partial. I'll just freeze that one, and then the rest of these jars I'll go ahead and fill up with that byproduct tomato juice that we siphoned off of the tomatoes as we were cutting them. So I've got the magnet wand. I'm placing each lid on a jar after having wiped off the rim of the jar. Make sure we get a good seal. This is kind of a hard job to do with just one hand, but effectively what we're doing is we're putting this ring on just barely tighter than finger tight. Any tighter than that will not allow for gases to escape from the jar. We want that to happen during the canning process because the whole point is to get a vacuum seal in there, and we can't do that if gases can't escape out of the jar while we're canning. So our water is not yet boiling, but it's pretty hot. I'm going to place 10 jars in the canner here, and then we're going to take and fill the remainder of the space in the jar, or in the canner above the lids here. Notice we had a little side project emerging here, and this is the tomato juice byproduct. We're going to put this in a jar today too, because what happened is I was planning for 20 jars, 10 in the canner and 10 in the pressure cooker. We weren't actually going to pressure cook them, but I got prepared lids for 10 jars, and I kind of halfway thought we'd do tomato juice today anyway. So we're gonna get those lined up and do those 2 remaining full pizza sauces with 8 jars of tomato juice, which is here. The canner is at a rolling boil now, where we'll can these jars for 30 minutes. So I've got some vegetables that I'm going to puree here. I've got a single red jalapeno pepper. I've got carrots and red onion. We're going to puree this together. We're going to dice this up really fine and liquidy and dump in the tomato juice. What I ended up doing here is adding a bunch of flour and cornstarch to this, and then some tomato juice to get things rolling. And we're going to puree one more time just to get things really fine in there, and then we're going to dump that in with the rest of our tomato juice. So then, after processing for 30 minutes in the canner, I extracted the jars with the jar tongs and set them on the counter here to cool. And we're hearing the lids pop in, suck in. That little ping that's, I often say to Beth, is the sound of success. And we got pizza sauce here that should be good this winter, next winter possibly if we need it. It looks delicious. So I have the odd pizza sauce, 2 pints in the canner right now with 8 pints of tomato juice. These are our last 7 pints that we'll can here in the canner. After the other ones get done, I don't want to heat up water again in the pressure canner. We're kind of going for a knockoff of the Zing-Zang mix, which Operations Manager Tim, my buddy, got me started on a few years ago. Thank you very much for that. Maybe we can have you over at some point. You can judge for yourself whether this is as good or better than the Zing-Zang mix. I enjoy this with an MGD, Miller Genuine Draft. Been my standby beer for a very long time. I like other beers, but I keep coming back to that one with, tastes great with a taco. I don't know why, it just does. So we ended up with a case of pizza sauce, 12 pints of pizza sauce, and 15 pints of tomato juice. And I'm enjoying actually a tomato beer from the tomato juice we canned last year or the year before. It's delicious. So we ended up with a dozen pints of pizza sauce and 15 pints of tomato juice. Don't tell my wife, Beth, but this is kind of my favorite part where we get to put this stuff away. Everything's cooled overnight. All the lids are sealed. The tops are all sealed down. There's no flex to any of them. I believe these aren't going to be any trouble, so we're going to put them away. So we've got a storeroom where we keep all this stuff. Green beans, canned carrots, spaghetti sauce, tomato soup, green salsa, red salsa, roasted peach salsa, rhubarb cherry jelly, stewed tomatoes, that Zing-Zang mix, and the pizza sauce that we just made, apple butter, pickled beets, more pizza sauce, whatever you call those, refrigerator pickles, rhubarb barbecue sauce, in the back there, sweet pickle relish, up on top here, more green beans, peaches off of our trees from last year, 22, peach pie and canned peaches, more pizza sauce, jalapenos, and then our empties over here. We got probably 4 cases of quarts and probably 4 cases of pints or so yet to fill. I doubt they'll all get filled this season, but we don't have to buy any. We got plenty of lids on hand, so great. And we do keep track of these year by year, of the different things we've canned, so we kind of have an idea what we did and what we need to do the next year, or if we're looking at tomatoes. We got an absolute surplus of tomatoes. It's beautiful this year. I think we're about done with them. Maybe a couple of more, maybe another batch or so of stewed tomatoes. We'll see. Anyway, we hope you enjoyed this walkthrough making pizza sauce and tomato juice. Click that like button, subscribe for more, and hopefully, if I'm lucky, I'll see you in the next one.